If you want to step into your power and heal your relationships, you may need to become really truthful with yourself. Because a lot of us think we're doing the right thing by being kind, loving, or keeping the peace, when in reality we are abandoning what's true and important inside of us. And over time, that disconnection doesn't just affect us internally. It starts showing up in our relationships, our bodies, our energy, and even in the way people respond to us. So in this video, I want to talk about a really powerful practice from yoga philosophy called satya, truthfulness, and how learning to live more honestly completely changed the way I relate to myself, to my family, and the people I love. I have a real-time exercise for you to begin to find peace beyond your thoughts and finally find alignment. So let me explain. Most people don't realize they're living out of alignment until their body or relationships begin reflecting it back to them. In yoga philosophy, satya is one of the yamas, which are basically ethical practices for living with more awareness and more integrity. But truthfulness doesn't just mean telling the truth. It means living in alignment. It's when your inner experience and your outer experience are not in conflict with each other. And honestly, I think many of us become experts in disconnecting from ourselves without even noticing it. We learn to be nice, to avoid conflict, to make everyone comfortable, and sometimes we become so focused on managing how comfortable other people are that we completely lose touch with our own truth. What I started noticing in my own life was that even though I looked fine and externally, internally I felt pressure. Things felt emotionally heavy. My energy was scattered and I was exhausted in ways that resting couldn't fix. And I realized I was constantly overriding what was important for me in order to maintain harmony or be perceived a certain way. And the problem is that truth doesn't disappear when we suppress it. It gets stored in the body, in resentment, anxiety, and emotional distance. And eventually life begins reflecting that misalignment back to us. So if you're realizing you've been disconnected from yourself, you can repair that now. And here's how. There is a deeper truth inside you asking you to be acknowledged. And being aware of what you've been suppressing is already the beginning of healing. One of the biggest ways we break trust in relationships is by pretending we are okay when we're not. There's this idea of hiding our pain to protect other people, the people that we love. But many times it actually creates emotional confusion and distance. And I learned this during a really difficult time in my marriage. My husband and I were going through a crisis. And at that time, our children were probably 15 and 19 years old. And we genuinely believed we were doing the right thing by hiding our struggles from them. We thought, we don't want to burden them. We need to protect them. But something painful started happening. Our children became emotionally distant from us. They started hiding things from us, little things, or avoiding us, even lying about small things. And honestly, I felt hurt by it. I remember thinking, I'm giving everything I have, and somehow we are becoming disconnected. This is unfair. Until our therapist at the time asked us one question. How are you communicating your struggles to your children? And when we explained that we weren't sharing anything because we wanted to protect them, he gently explained something that changed everything for me. He said, they already feel the suffering. Humans feel misalignment, especially children. Even when nothing is spoken, people can feel when something isn't real. So we decided to speak honestly with them, not in a dramatic way, but making sure they didn't feel responsible for our pain. We simply allowed them to see our humanity. And slowly things started softening. We stopped pretending. We stopped performing strength all the time. And our relationship became more honest. Not perfect, but real. And I truly believe real relationships heal through honesty, not pretending. Because intimacy cannot grow where truth is absent. Sometimes the most damaging lies are the tiny ones we tell ourselves every single day. And Satya isn't only about the big conversations. It lives in the little and subtle moments. Like saying yes when your body is screaming no. Or smiling when you're deeply hurt. Overcommitting because you want to be liked. Or laughing something off that actually affected you. These little moments may seem meaningless, but over time, they disconnect us from our inner authority. And this is where people pleasing becomes really dangerous. Because eventually you stop knowing what you genuinely feel. You become hyper-focused on everyone else's comfort, while your nervous system quietly carries the weight of everything you haven't shared or communicated. And then resentment builds. Exhaustion builds, disconnection builds. And what I've learned is that truthfulness actually creates safety, not immediate comfort, but long-term safety. Because when you stop performing, people can finally relate to the real you. And you do not have to become harsh or confrontational to practice this truthfulness. You can be honest and compassionate at the same time. And that's where the real power lives. When you stop abandoning yourself, your decisions become clearer. Your body relaxes, your relationships become more honest. You stop wasting energy trying to maintain versions of yourself that aren't real. And strangely, the right people feel safer around you too. Because authenticity gives others permission to be authentic too. I noticed this in my family after we stopped hiding. There was more openness, more emotional honesty, less judgment. Not because we suddenly became perfect communicators, but because we stopped pretending. And pretending is exhausting. So if you feel life is emotionally heavy lately, ask yourself, where am I not being fully honest with myself? And that question can begin changing your relationships immediately. Truthfulness is not about becoming someone new. It's about finally returning to who you really are. And I think many of us spend years trying to become more lovable, more acceptable, more impressive. But healing is like removing the layers of protection that disconnect us from who we really are. And Satya invites us into a different way of living, a way where we stop performing peace and actually creating it internally, a way where we stop forcing connection and start following real intimacy. And the beautiful thing is that truthfulness creates freedom, because once you stop hiding, there's nothing left to maintain, and you can finally exhale. And no, you don't have to change your life overnight. Begin practicing truthfulness in tiny moments. One honest conversation, one honest boundary, one honest acknowledgement of what you truly feel. And that's how alignment begins to happen. If there's one thing I hope you take from this video, is that suppressing truth is what creates suffering. And maybe stepping into your power doesn't mean becoming louder or stronger. Maybe it simply means becoming more honest, more aligned, and more willing to let yourself be fully seen. And if this resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe. And I'd love also to hear in the comments, where in your life are you being invited into deeper truthfulness right now? Don't forget to grab the real-time exercise to begin to find peace beyond your thoughts and find your alignment from the description below.